We are back, everyone. The JT Show, Super Talk, Mississippi. Gerard at the Neshoba County Fair. My good friend Rhino holding down the fort back in the studio. Joining us now, the chairman of the Mississippi GOP, Frank Bourdeaux. Good afternoon, Frank. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Gerard.
Been a great day. We saw all of the who's who in Mississippi politics deliver some energized speeches, I thought, and got their message out. Many of them came on the program and recapped that for us, but this is just a unique Mississippi event. It's always a lot of fun.
It is. It's one of the unique things that we have in our state, and I was excited to be here. I've been here every year since 2012, except for last year due to COVID. But one thing that I'd like to say is great to see a bunch of great Republicans on the stage today. I didn't see many Democrats.
That's right. That's precisely right. And, of course, this is a municipal election year. But next year we got the midterms coming up in Mississippi. Of course, all of the members of our House of Representatives in Washington are vying for their seats. I believe everybody plans to run for re-election at this point. I don't know if everybody's officially filed, but anyhow, we got to go to the polls again and elect Republicans and put them back in Washington. That is critical, and a lot of folks may not realize just how close is and the balance of power, and just how small is the margin the Democrats currently hold. About 9 or 10, I think.
10.
Yeah, 10. All right. Up in Washington. So it's critical we get at least keep everybody's Republican, keep their seats, keep those districts Republican, and get 5 more is what we got to do. At least 5 more.
At least. Well, and I think here in Mississippi, we do have all of our House members on the Republican side have indicated they are going to seek re-election. We do have 2 Democrats, one that's going to run against Congressman Kelly,
yep,
and then one that's going to run against Congressman Guest.
Already announced, right?
Already announced.
Yeah.
And so we are working hard with those folks, with the folks on our side, to make sure that we are able to keep Mississippi conservative and red, and I know Mississippi will show up to vote. The key is nationally, and I believe the more the Biden administration rolls out, the more our nation is moving further and further to our side of things. I think the independent voters are scared of what you're seeing coming out of D.C. and the transfer of power, and so they want to keep it with the people, and I think that we're going to prevail come re-election.
You got to believe that the overreach is starting to get even staunch Democrat supporters starting to scratch their head a little bit. You got overreach, you got the border, you got crime going on right now. You've got just massive spending programs in the works. Certainly they're seeing that this is truly a problem. It just feels like they're in a state of denial about this.
I think they are, but it is interesting that what's going on in Cuba is going on today.
Yeah.
With everything that's going on in the United States, it seems like the Democrat Party is trying to push us towards the socialistic model, and you're seeing Cubans revolt against it. I've been to Cuba 3 different times on 3 different occasions. I've seen what socialism does to an amazing society.
Yeah.
That's a great group of folks down there that want freedom, and that the idea that we're trying to go the opposite direction.
It's crazy.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and so it's like I've said before in social media that over in Cuba they're calling for American freedom, and over here in America we're calling for Cuban socialism. I mean, it's just crazy.
Crazy.
But the Democrats seem to be a little tone deaf, certainly on that issue, because we got so many prominent Democrats saying, no, it's the embargoes that's causing this, and the Cuban people that are protesting say, no, it's not. We want freedom. We're under the wrath of a brutal dictatorial regime. We don't have any freedom over here. That's what we want.
That's right. And I think Senator Rubio hit the nail on the head. The Democrats that are saying that don't understand what the embargo is. They don't understand that we are sending medical aid.
Right.
We are sending, and it's not getting to the people. And so it's not America that's to blame for this. It's the radical position, socialism, is to blame for this. And so as long as we can push back in America, and I think you're going to see that in 2022.
I hope so. I certainly do. It's critical at this point. So you may have seen, I'll ask you about this if you hadn't, just share it with you, that former Texas Representative Ronnie Jackson, used to be Trump's doctor of physician, said he's not sure that the president can make it through his entire term. He's calling for cognitive tests and so forth. This is a physician, and he's not one that engages in hyperbole. I mean, I think he's been serious, and he's analyzing, he's observing what he's seeing. it's disturbing. But they, again, seem to be in denial about that as well.
Well, they're in denial about it, but whenever the shoe was on the other foot and they were calling for the same test for President Trump at the time, and President Trump did quite well.
He knocked it out of the park, 100, I think. So
he said it was the best test the doctors had ever seen. So.
Well, I mean, so we can't. The issue is we can't really make progress. We can't solve problems. We can't come together, which I don't think they have any inclination or any desire to come together unless we can at least face the facts and frame them appropriately and fairly and accurately, and there just doesn't seem to be any desire to do that. I think that's what bothers me more than anything. You can't say anything about the border. No, pay no attention to that. There's nothing going on down there. You can't say anything about inflation. Well, it's just transitory. And then the president the other day says, well, the way to fix that inflation is to pass my $3.5 trillion spending bill.
Prior to it being written, by the way.
Exactly. But it seems like we ought to have our guns loaded with lots of messaging to say that just doesn't work. Think about what it was before they took over.
One of the issues is getting our messaging out. If the media will not provide us an equal platform to get the messaging out, we used to rely on social media. Now it seems that social media is going to silence us when we try to get our message out. And it's just really unfortunate. And so we're going to have to do paid media in order to get our message out, and that costs a lot of money.
Yeah,
so
it does.
We don't get the free media.
Well, I understand, but somehow I just feel like, Frank, that we got to get back to selling freedom and free markets and constitutional principles and individual responsibility. We've just departed so far from that. And the pitch we get out of the left is, no, government is going to take care of you. It's free health care. It's free pre-K care. It's free community college. It's child tax credits. I mean, the list is endless. And why are people buying into that? Why isn't the message of, no, we just want to get out of your way and let you go seize opportunities the market provides and affords you and let you do your best?
I think the Biden administration's moving so fast in their policies. I think you're going to see the pushback in 2022 when regular folks, not just Republican conservatives, when regular folks go out to the ballot box and push back on their policies. They've moved very, very quickly and deteriorating our country. And I think it's very easy for us on our side just to remind people that our country's a great country.
Yeah.
We're not a bad country.
Yeah.
And we have many, many examples of that. And so we got to work hard and get our message out. And I think our message is very easy.
It is, and it's disturbing. The governor and I were just chatting about that during his interview, but this proliferation of racial division and trying to frame every problem as one rooted in racism is not only disingenuous, it's just simply it's lying, it's false, call it what it is. But it's disturbing that that's happening in our schools. How can we expect to produce a productive, patriotic, country-loving adults in the future if we keep telling them how bad we are?
That's
it
right.
Makes no sense.
And I think the governor laid it out very well in his speech that in Mississippi we've seen the negative side of racism, and we're not going to allow that to happen in our schools in Mississippi. I think that our school superintendents, by large, feel the same way.
Yeah.
And so I think in Mississippi we're going to push back on that narrative that, when you're born a racist because of the color of your skin.
Crazy.
We've seen how that works out in Mississippi. And so we're going to push back on that narrative. I think our legislature is going to take some action this year. And like I said, I think that our educators in Mississippi are also not on board with that.
Yeah, good. I hope so. He made it very clear. That was a top legislative priority because he's seeing the destruction that's occurring in other parts of the country. It's ripping communities apart, and it's got parents at each other's throats. The school boards and parents are going at each other. It's just not the way it's supposed to work.
No, definitely not.
Appreciate so much you joining us today, Mr. Frank Bourdeaux. He's the chairman of the Mississippi GOP. We'll take a break right here. We'll come back. We've got Mark Prine, retired Army colonel. He'll be here on the set at the Neshoba County Fair. All right, Rhino, so we got about another minute left. I'm sorry for that. I heard music in the background. I thought it was our music. So, Frank, we still got you. Okay. All right. So we were talking about this proliferation of critical race theory, which is disturbing in my view. Have you seen any evidence of that happening in the state of Mississippi where school districts are coming on board with that?
I have not seen a single school district. I hear as I travel the state, our citizens are so concerned and worried about it, but I have not seen any evidence, hard evidence, that any of our school districts have intentionally embraced critical race theory.
Well, I've asked our audience if they do to let us know and report it. Let's dig in and figure out what's really going on, and not just accept it at face value. We don't want to get too jacked up over something that's maybe a nothing burger non-issue. But we got to be vigilant, and it's got to happen out in the communities.
That's right.
You can't rely on government to know everything and be everywhere. So
that's right.
All right, here we are. We got the